Hey everyone, Mitch Jackson. Welcome to Wednesday Night Legal Marketing Live with my favorite guest of all time, my daughter, Alexandra, AJ Jackson. How you doing, AJ?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dad.
Thank you, AJ. I had to twist her arm just a little bit, but I'm really glad that you're here. And we're going to talk a little bit about millennial marketing, millennials being professionals, and how we can all connect with millennials out in the world, right? To build our brands and build our businesses. So if you have questions, you guys, ask your questions. We'll be monitoring your questions in the comments. Share this out to your family and friends. And we're going to have some fun tonight. Once again, AJ, I know this was like top of your list today.
Quarantine fun.
Quarantine fun.
Videos with Dad.
See, now you guys know where she gets it from, her mother. So listen, you guys. Hey, Brad, it's good to see you, Dan, and everyone else. Let me give AJ just a brief intro, and then we're going to dive right into the burning question. And I'm going to let her think about this question while I'm introducing her. And the question is going to be Snap, Instagram stories, or TikTok for professionals. So you give that some thought. But right now, you guys, I want to introduce my daughter, AJ. She went to UCLA undergrad and then graduated magna cum laude, and then jumped across town and went to law school at USC. She was a Stanley and Eileen Gould Honors Scholarship recipient. She was a Hale Moot Court Honors finalist and judge. I mean, not judge.
I was asked to judge, but I didn't get to do it.
Right, because you were competing, right?
No, I was working.
And she was a Judge Avery Crary Award recipient. Today, she's a first-year associate at Sheppard Mullin up in Century City, which is in Los Angeles. And one of the reasons I wanted AJ to come on the show is that in addition to being a lawyer, in addition to being a millennial, she's had some experience in marketing and social media. And going back to before she was sworn in as a lawyer, you clerked for a very prestigious federal judge here in Orange County in Los Angeles. You also spent some time with Erin Garrigan King and her social media agency in Laguna Beach. Some of Erin's clients, you guys, are the Oscars, ABC, Disney, and Visa. She also did an intern for Tim McDonald, who back then was the community manager of the Huffington Post, and worked a little bit with Brian Elliott of Linked OC and Good Brain Video Studios. And you had a chance to interview with LeVar Burton, Mike Rowe, and David Merriman Scott up in Los Angeles.
That I did.
So she's had a lot of experience both outside the law and now in the law. And that's why I've asked AJ to be on the show tonight. So the question everyone wants to know, what are millennials gravitating towards? TikTok, Instagram stories, or Snap, or maybe a combination of the above?
So I would say TikTok makes me feel old. It is Gen Z's platform, which my little brother consistently reminds me of.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, except for you. You've crushed it on there.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I think in a millennial's world, Instagram stories and Instagram, generally speaking, are the best platform to reach us. Instagram stories especially have become prominent with everything going on the past couple months. A lot of my personal shares on my account have been pulled from like the ACLU. You know, these big platforms that make shareable posts, where you post one post and within that post you have a couple different like posts within it. So you can click through, and by linking one individual Instagram post from an organization like the ACLU, whoever's seeing your story can click on that, be routed to that account, and see even more information. So I love Instagram stories. It's what I use to kind of speak my mind and let my opinions be heard. And I think a lot of my millennial friends feel the same way. So
as an older attorney, and I think out of the two of us, I'm the old one here in the live video. No. If I wanted to start an Instagram account and start using Instagram stories, as a lawyer, as a professional, as a business owner, what would be some of the things that you as a millennial would want to see someone like me posting about, in addition to what you've already shared?
So I think a big thing for especially like millennial attorneys is mentorship. And you do a great job of that, you know, presenting opportunities to connect young attorneys to more seasoned attorneys.
Ooh, I like that.
Seasoned, yes. Just guidance for me is a big thing. That's what I like to see in the accounts I follow. I want to broaden my horizons. I want to meet more seasoned attorneys who can connect me with those in my field. And yeah, I'd say making yourself available via Instagram to younger millennial attorneys as a mentor, as someone who can guide them, is pretty invaluable.
Brad Friedman, who is a social media expert, and he was a lawyer for about 15 years until he saw the light and went on to bigger and better things, talked a little bit about the China threat with TikTok. I think that's what Brad's referring to. Do you have any concerns with security risk on any of the platforms? And when you're using the platforms, you are an associate at Sheppard Mullin. How do you balance what you're putting out on the platforms with not unintentionally revealing client information and things like that?
So I try to ride the line always towards being respectful of my clients and being respectful of my firm. And thus far in my experience, that's been a pretty easy line to ride. I haven't really had a conflict in posting my opinions and posting what's going on in my life versus, what I'm doing in my professional life. And I think it's just something that I'm going to develop as a skill set over time, kind of riding that line correctly. As to TikTok, so I'm a big fan of TikTok, and I recognize there's
Who turned you on to TikTok?
This guy. So the only guy outside of Gen Z to kill it on there, but it is possible. I like TikTok, and although I've heard a lot about the data concerns that have been going around through, China and its creation of TikTok, I personally haven't experienced anything or seen anything that has kind of put me on pause, and I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it is what it is. You got to be careful, but the reality of the situation is we don't know a ton, and people are still continuing to use the app safely. So
it's like anything else in life. You just got to be careful, right?
Exactly.
So James has a question, and I want to bring this up or a comment. James is a friend in Legal Minds, and he's the attorney I was telling you about that was doing the funny videos on class action. Hey, somebody moved my stuff. Remember that attorney I was telling you about? It was just cracking us up. That's James.
Hi, James.
And he may actually be a millennial. But if someone like James or someone like me wants to connect with James or someone like you on Instagram, on TikTok, on Snap, for example, we don't want to be creepy about doing it, right? So let's just say we're looking to connect. I'm in New York and I want to connect with you, a California-based lawyer, and I see you on Instagram, and I genuinely want to refer you a case or maybe ask you a question about a judge. What's the best way for an attorney to reach out to a millennial on one of these platforms in a non-creepy professional way?
The good thing is we also prefer that you're not creepy, so everybody's on the same page.
Yes. Exactly.
I think the best spot actually to reach out via is LinkedIn. I actually haven't had an experience where an attorney has reached out to me first on Instagram. That you're right, that probably would come across a little weird. LinkedIn is kind of, I think, the best starting point because it's obviously a very professional setting. You can reach out. Good job. You're a millennial.
Let's make that clear.
No, but yeah, I think LinkedIn's a good place to start. And I think when it comes to like doing something like referring a case, I would say the easiest route is to go through a professional channel. Like my firm has my information on the website. That's where I get kind of referrals.
Sure.
Or I talk to prospective clients. That's that path for me. But if it were to come from, another attorney, I would imagine LinkedIn would be the best place to start. Once you connect and build a personal connection is when I think you could move to Instagram and the like.
Okay. So it's a process.
Definitely a process. And I think LinkedIn's the best starting spot.
When we earlier mentioned mentors, and I think that's a natural and a very good way for older lawyers to connect with younger lawyers and to build referral relationships. Talk to us a little bit about the mentor process that you experienced with respect to law firms coming to law schools.
Sure. So I met the two partners who I ended up interviewing with that gave me access to my firm and ended up helping me become an associate at my firm through a process at USC Law called OCI, which is on-campus interviews. And I know most law schools in the area at least tend to have these on-campus interview events. For me, it was great because basically I showed up and there were tons of booths set up, and Sheppard Mullin happened to be one of them. And I kind of bopped around with friends and talked to associates, partners, special counsel at these booths that represented firms. And I see myself very soon in the future becoming one of those associates for Sheppard, showing up at these events at law schools and talking to prospective associates. That being said, one thing that we've talked about and that I thought would be great to bring to your live was that when these young law students go to these OCI events, they're not just looking at big law firms. There are firms that filter in of all sizes and from all areas. And if you're looking for an intern or a summer associate, that's the place to meet these law students. And it's a place to find very eager to learn law students who are looking for a job. And I think that's also a good location to build mentorship opportunities. And that's what I experienced personally. It was really great for me.
Taking those relationships you might first establish at the law school as a mentor and then bringing them onto the social media platforms. For example, if I'm talking to you at law school and you are a runner and soccer player in high school, and let's say I ran in high school also, right? Talk to us a little bit about how can I take that personal hobby, that personal interest relationship, and circle back a week or a month later with you on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and just continue the conversation. So we're not only building a professional relationship, but we're also building a personal relationship based upon a common interest.
So one point I want to make before I answer that question that segues off of it that I think is really helpful in this setting is we talked about this.
Sure.
At these sorts of events, kind of the new business card has become exchanging numbers. So for me, if I met an associate close in age to me who, like you said, has similar interests, a really easy way in some of these scenarios to connect is to shoot a text with the equivalent of your business card information. Hi, this is AJ from USC Law, interested in Sheppard. Great meeting you. Thank you for your time. That's one thing I didn't want to forget to bring up that we talked about that is really helpful and helps establish those kind of networking, mentoring, bonding opportunities between young lawyers and older lawyers. But again, I would say the easiest route beyond that text is LinkedIn. Shooting a message within a week, I would say, is probably the best route to go as an associate, or I'd assume in your spot if you'd be hiring someone. I think it's soon enough where it doesn't seem like you're letting it lag out or you've forgotten, but it's also not too soon where you seem a little aggressive. I think that week time frame is a great time to check in. Great to meet you. This is where we met. This is who I am and what we talked about. I'd love to grab lunch and discuss it a little more and learn from you. That's been my route, and it's really helped me.
So if I was to meet someone at a law school and we want to exchange information, you're talking about exchanging information on your phone or a text, right?
Sure, yeah.
What do I say to start that process? I don't want to say, for example, if it's me to someone like you, hey, can I get your number? It's probably not going to come across right, even though my intentions are pure. How does somebody start that conversation to get the information?
I think it's a personal comfort level for sure. I mean, it depends on who you're speaking to and what you're comfortable with as an individual. I would say if you're concerned about riding that line and don't want to come off unprofessional, then start with LinkedIn. Like we said, start with LinkedIn, establish a relationship with the person. For me, it's more like associates that are more junior, like me at my firm, that I connect with off LinkedIn or I connect with off firm territory. And I haven't experienced any sort of situation where I felt put off by someone helping me along the way. So I would say just trust your gut, and when in doubt, go to LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm hearing LinkedIn a lot,
yes,
which is actually surprising me, you guys. So I thought for sure, because I know AJ's on Instagram stories quite a bit.
Yes.
But that's mostly for personal reasons, right? You're staying connected with your friends.
Yeah.
Who happen to be lawyers.
Who happen to be
referral sources.
Yes.
So I'm watching you build your personal brand. Look, she's getting embarrassed right now. I know my daughter really well, you guys. Hey, listen, you guys, we're talking with AJ Jackson, who happens to be my daughter, first-year lawyer up in LA. We're fielding questions. We got a ton of questions, AJ, that we got to get through.
Well, let's field
and I get the message. We're going to quit kicking me. She's kicking me.
I'm not.
And I also want you guys, though, hit the share button and share this out with your audience if you're watching live or recorded. And it's great to see everybody. Really appreciate the support. One of the questions I saw, let me just scroll down. We have Professor Nicholas Meir, who's going to be a guest on the show in a couple of weeks. And he asked the question, do you see millennial lawyers, for those of you listening and not watching, being outspoken on hot topics or just as cautious as seasoned lawyers? So I'm not the norm, but generally speaking, what are your thoughts about how millennial lawyers and other professionals should be using social media? What's the comfort level? What are the pros and cons?
So hi, Nicholas. So I really like this question because I have a pretty strong viewpoint on it. I personally am very outspoken, and
I don't know where you get that from.
I don't know either. Mom and dad.
It's probably mom, right?
Mom and dad are so demure about that type of thing. But I personally use my social media to speak my mind, and there has not been a moment in my, I guess, admittedly short time practicing as an attorney where I felt like that was not appropriate. There's a lot going on right now, and I'd like to think that a lot of millennials are very well versed on that and have a very strong point of view on that. A quick side note that's funny that I like to make a comparison to is the founders of Ben & Jerry are big supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement. And they went out protesting. I believe they were actually arrested at one point mid-protest. They've been very outspoken on their company platform supporting BLM, and millennials have loved it. They've embraced them with open arms. It's been really cool to watch these companies with big platforms come out and do the right thing. And I think at this point, it's kind of become more of the norm in my generation to speak your mind and be confident doing so. So that's my perspective.
Are millennials using email newsletters to build brand audience? By the way, Dan's out of Canada, and his nephews went to USC. So we're connecting one of his nephews with Garrett, just so you know. So that's a great question. I don't know if they are or not, Dan. What's the deal, AJ?
So I have not encountered any millennial email newsletters. I think it's a great idea, but personally, I haven't seen any. For me, I think the way I keep up with what my friends are doing professionally is, again, LinkedIn, those LinkedIn posts that share accomplishments or starting a new job, stuff like that. And then probably Instagram, like you said, people will post a lot of their new job updates or opportunities or accomplishments to their Instagram stories or their Instagram accounts. And both are really great to keep up with what my friends and family are doing.
A lot of marketing experts are saying build your email list. It's an asset that you want to hang on to. I'm not a strong proponent of that because I don't like getting emails. I don't like my email inbox filling up with noise or newsletters. And I think one thing Dan's asking is, do you or your friends read newsletters and rely upon newsletters in your email inbox to stay up to speed on products and services? Or would you rather get that information someplace else on digital or social media?
I would rather get that information someplace else. I am not good on my email unless it's my firm email where I work every day. And I used to rely on it more before I started working. But I think now if you're a practicing professional, there's only so many platforms that there's time to check in a day. And if there's a way for me to check one that allows me to connect with my friends while also being updated on products, services, things I'm interested in, that would be great, which is why going on your account's wonderful on Instagram because I get to see what my dad is up to on the daily. And I also get to see what you're doing at work, which I really think is a nice combination and saves me a lot of time.
It's interesting because while you were at UCLA and USC and now you're living up in Los Angeles, that is kind of how we stay in touch. We look at each other's Instagram feeds and some of the other platforms, pictures, comments, things like that. I just want to share a couple of nice things here. Thank you, Nicole, watching the two of us interact. We appreciate that. And AJ's met Nicole.
Many
so
times.
We've taken that online relationship offline. I brought AJ down to a conference in San Diego. Yes. You got to meet a lot of friends that are here. AJ Richmond, who is an attorney out of Georgia. I am AJ. It's nothing better than sitting next to your daughter on a live video because we don't know what's going to happen.
Thanks, AJ. Great name.
Yes, it is a great name. And so AJ, right now for millennials starting their practices, whether they're working in a firm or they're starting their own practice, how do you like interacting with your clients? Do you like snail mail or do millennial clients prefer snail mail, or do they want to communicate using text, private messages, or other platforms?
So my experience might be a little different because again, I'm in Big Law, so it's a little more by the book. I communicate with clients by phone and by my firm email. That's it. That's the only way we communicate unless it's also in person.
Okay.
And so I'd say it's pretty traditional for us, and it's what I'm comfortable with as well.
And by the way, your firm, where are you working? Let's give them a shout out.
Sheppard, Mullin, Century City.
And what type of practice, what type of law are you practicing right now?
So I do general commercial litigation. I'm in the business trial practice group in Century City. And so I really enjoy it because it gives me exposure to a lot of different areas, which is also one of the reasons I sought out Sheppard and was so excited to have the opportunity to work there. I've worked in entertainment litigation, which has been really exciting, and it's one of my main interests. I work in a lot of trade secrets cases. I've even done constitutional law, and I've dabbled in securities as well and trust and estates. So I'm getting a pretty broad base of exposure, and it's been really, really cool.
How do you guys, by the way, Steve is joining us all the way from Scotland.
Hi,
so
Steve.
That's kind of cool. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. How do millennials, I don't know if you like to do legal research. I don't know if you are doing legal research, but what do you see the trend being with respect to legal research right now? You guys aren't still going to the law library, are you?
No.
So how are you guys doing legal research?
Where is the law library? Do you know of one that I'm not aware of? So yeah. Oh yeah. The joke is amongst me and my friends who are first year lawyers, the bane of our existence is legal research. If you're a litigator, I'm doing it constantly. And I think there's definitely some approaches that have become pretty commonplace. I am a big fan of LexisNexis. Use it all the time. When I can't find something on Google, I jump to the Rudder Guide and I jump to Lexis. And those are like my two main platforms.
Also case text.
Case text, yes. So you showed me case text because I'm not sure if my firm uses that, but I love case text. It's super helpful, super straightforward, and I love how it gives access to briefs people have filed.
Yeah.
It's like a whole database where you can use key terms to search not only through case law, but through briefs that have been filed, which kind of help you build arguments, skip a whole step in between.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
It's like doing research just using a Google search bar. And full disclosure, I am a brand ambassador for Case Text, and that's something that I do need to report. Brad Friedman does have an interesting question. Okay. For those of you listening just on the audio, what do these big law firms think about social media marketing from the firm perspective? And what are their individual guidelines? You don't need to go into privacy or details, but what is your experience with big firms and social media? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or indifferent?
So I think it kind of varies firm to firm. My firm, I think, is pretty active on, I feel like I've seen more of them on LinkedIn, which has been really cool. We're always trying to build, we're always trying to expand. A lot of our, workshops at firm events have been, how can we do better online? How can we, be more responsive online? And they turn to a lot of associates to see what we think. And so I think it's always a building process. And I personally feel that my firm has done a really good job of being open, trying to expand, trying to connect. And I've really enjoyed being there for a lot of those discussions. That being said, I, again, haven't really experienced a lot of individualized guidelines from my firm. I think it's just like any other job, keep it respectful, respect client confidentiality, and that's about it. It's been pretty clear cut for me. I haven't had any struggles with that.
I think there's an opportunity for big firms to embrace social.
I think so
and
too.
Build out their brands.
Yeah.
Those that are innovative and want to take that next step. I think there's a lot of different possibilities. Great question, Brad. Nancy is a Social Security disability attorney. She can't be here tonight, but it looks like she snuck in her question anyway. I was going to ask this question for her. Millennials who are searching for Social Security disability attorneys for their parents, right? You want to take care of mom and dad. How do you guys, and the general question is, how do you guys do your research? How do you find the name of a service provider? How do you find the name of a lawyer? How do you find the name of someplace to go, a hotel to stay at on vacation? Where do you go to search? You don't use the yellow pages. You probably don't even know what the yellow pages are. How do you find out what product and services to hire or use? I would
Google. I would first Google. I would find someone in my area with good client feedback. And then what I would probably do next is search their online presence, whether that be, a big thing is a website. You need to have a good functioning website that's interactive, because that's where I would go. And again, if you can have a good LinkedIn presence, a good social media presence, those are pluses. But more than anything, it would just be that professional website that I could go to and read client feedback and see, what people have said in their experiences with you.
I love that. And I'm going to embarrass you real quick. John says, and I agree, John.
It's a lot of lighting. It's bright.
So talk to us a little bit about building our social media brands. As a millennial, are you even thinking about building a personal brand on social media other than, sharing pictures with your friends and doing personal things? Are you building out a professional brand right now on social media? And do you have any advice for other millennials out there that watching what I'm doing, right? If you are a millennial starting your own practice, starting your own business, maybe it's not even related to the law. What are some things they should take into consideration while building out their personal brands?
So I don't think I've dug too much into building out my personal brand in my first year. I'm just right now focused on learning how to be an attorney. That being said, I think the biggest thing millennials can do to kind of build their brand is to create that small knit circle of mentors that you can turn to. I think mentorship is so important. And again, it's one of the reasons that I chose to go to Sheppard. I knew I had people there who were invested in my growth as an attorney and who were invested in my experience as an attorney. And I don't think that needs to be limited to your place of business. I mean, I've met people through you. I've met great attorneys through you, through law school events, through bar events, where it's not about how big you get your brand out there. It's about who you're getting your brand out there to.
Ooh, I like that.
If it's that small knit circle that can really connect you with people and can invest in your experience, that makes all the difference. And it's made all the difference for me.
It's quantity, not quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Quality.
Not
You listen to me.
She got the brains, you guys. And it's interesting to hear you say that, because I haven't heard you say it the right way before. And it's all about the quality of the relationships, whether they're offline or online. And it's the third or fourth time you've brought up mentorship. And a friend of mine who just joined us, Chris Strub, talks about what he's watching me do. And Chris does the same thing on social media. But for those of you that don't know Chris was the first person to actually live stream in all 50 states.
That's so cool.
Using what was then Snapchat. Now we call it Snap. And so Chris, it's good to see you. And thanks for supporting the show. And Chris, meet AJ.
Hi, Chris.
Meet Chris. And it's interesting how you can take that mentorship opportunity, and some people just let it go. They don't follow up, but other people take advantage of that, right? And they start building their network. As a young professional, talk to us a little bit and be honest. How much effort are you putting into building your network, or do you see your friends with building their networks thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road?
So if you want me to be honest, I am not building my brand right now. I'm trying to learn how to practice. And like I said, I'm focused on building my brand to people that matter to me and that think I matter. And obviously I'm new to the game. So it's a little bit of a small circle right now, but I have a great circle that I turn to, including you, my mom, Lisa, and the attorneys at my firm. And for me, it's kind of like I want to get my 2 feet on the ground before I start building my brand. I think that even might be a distinction between a millennial attorney and a seasoned attorney, but it's also one that we could learn from more seasoned attorneys and start building earlier. So I don't think there's any harm in kind of getting yourself out there as soon as you can.
And you are right now, whether you realize it or not. By saying yes to doing this show, you're building your brand and meeting a lot of people that you haven't met before. And I think that's how the dance, probably the most important question of the night, you guys, is where did I see it?
Who would you rather?
Yeah, I saw that
of course.
too. So AJ asked, who would AJ rather go up against in court, mom or dad? Yes,
Dad.
AJ.
Dad.
You rather go up?
Yes. Because if my experience growing up in this home is any indicator, I can pull one over on you, not on mom.
Ooh, let's get that. Well, I'm a sucker for a daughter, right?
You are.
That's awesome. What you kind of threw me off with that last answer.
I haven't done anything bad. Nothing has ever snuck by you. You got it, Slick.
I was paddleboarding with AJ's little brother, Garrett, who's 20 now. And we're paddleboarding under a bridge at Dana Point Harbor. And he looks at me and he goes, Dad, do you think someone could jump off that bridge and survive? And I said, I don't know, buddy. It's pretty high. He goes, remember that night I came home late and I had my toe all cut up and I told you I stubbed it on a friend's swimming pool. And I said, yeah. And he goes, it was the bridge. So I don't trust either one of you.
Fair enough.
All right. Is practicing law anything like you thought it would be?
Yeah, I think I grew up watching you and mom do it. So I was lucky enough to have a pretty good insight onto what I was walking into. And it's also cool to grow up with two parents who have loved being attorneys, because it isn't always the most common that people love their job. I've just always known it's what I was looking forward to doing. And it's been very challenging. You kind of have to make a decision when you decide you want to become an attorney, that you want a job that's going to challenge you every single day. And that's definitely a process to get used to. But I feel like my job makes me feel like I'm bettering myself. And I think that's hard to come by in your profession.
Are millennials still using Facebook? Tell us a little bit about Facebook, your thoughts. I know your little brother is not really a big fan of Facebook.
True.
How about you?
I think millennials are definitely still using Facebook. Okay. I think Instagram is the favorite kind of platform of millennials, but I don't count Facebook out at all. I'd say Gen Z are the ones, like my little brother, who just have nothing good to say about Facebook. And I like Facebook. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's the way I kind of stay up to date on my friends' lives. When I was in law school, for example, our class pages were always on Facebook. Like, we had class pages for each year of law school. We had all of our student groups were on Facebook. So yeah, I think it's definitely super relevant and applicable for reaching out to millennials.
When we talked about what's it like being an attorney? Is it what you thought it would be like? I was talking to Mom before we went live, and she asked me to ask you two questions. What's your favorite thing so far about being a lawyer, and what's been your least favorite thing so far about being an attorney?
Let's see. I think what I really like about being an attorney, and it sounds dark when I first say it, but I like the power. And what I mean by that is, I feel like for the first time in my life, I have had kind of the knowledge and the experience to protect myself and the people I care about in any setting. It's kind of special when you realize that people are regularly coming to you kind of in those moments they need guidance or advice. And it's because they trust you and they trust in the knowledge and experience you've developed. And I've always been really excited to have that as an attorney, because I watched you guys my whole life, whether that be friends or family. You were always the people that our friends and family reached out to in trying times, because they trust your judgment and they trust your experience. And that's what I like about being a lawyer. It allows you to protect yourself and the people you care about every stage of life. That being said, I think that also doubles as the hardest part of being a lawyer. Yeah. It's a lot of responsibility. You need to look out for your client at all times. When you're giving advice to anyone, you need to make sure that the advice you're giving is solid and grounded. And, what do they say? With great power comes great responsibility. So that's what I think my answer would be.
That's a great answer. I was curious, and Mom was curious too. For those people watching who are either thinking about starting a company, a business, maybe becoming a professional, whether it's law school, medical school, becoming a CPA, or they have kids who they're talking about doing these things, following in your footsteps. Do you have any advice for them as far as, maybe classes they should be taking, activities they should be involved with, how they should monitor their social media use to build out their brand, just things that maybe you wish you had known 10 years ago when you started this journey?
Do you mean particularly as to law school?
I think as a professional in general.
Okay. So I think as a professional in general, social media, it's important to keep it, classy. Generally speaking, that's just the truth of it. I haven't had any experiences or seen friends with any experiences where something went wrong in their professional life because of something they posted on social. That being said, the reality of it is that we're living in a time where that can be looked up in 2 seconds. And, I think if you're not posting something that you can't really be proud of, and I mean that more so on a spectrum of views and beliefs, it's not about why someone is offended that you posted something. It's that you offended them by posting it. That's what should matter. Being kind, being respectful on social media, while also sticking to your guns and speaking your mind. That's kind of what I'm skewing towards Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love that. I love that because you've reminded me on more than one occasion, Dad, stop instructing, stop posting, and listen a little bit more, especially on trending issues. Talk to us a little bit as a lawyer, the importance of listening and what that means to you on the social platforms.
On the social platforms, I mean, I think I come from a very honestly privileged place. I grew up with you and my mom, who are both attorneys, where I got an inside look onto my profession before I even knew I wanted to be an attorney, really. I mean, I grew up
down
with
to court.
Yeah, I grew up with it. And, I have a really loving family. I have great friends. I'm very lucky. And so with a lot of stuff going on right now and with a lot of, experiences people are having that haven't necessarily grown up where I've grown up or met who I've met in my process and in my career, I try to be open and listen, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be at my firm. I wouldn't have gone to the law school I went to without the way I grew up and the people that helped me along the way. And I think it's really easy to get in a bubble, especially as an attorney, because you do have a lot of knowledge, you do have a lot of power, you do have a lot of experience to think I know it all. And that's not the case. It's really not the case. And I think generationally, that experience really varies. And so as I kind of progress from a junior associate to move up, I don't want to lose the perspective of those around me that, have gone through things differently or have fought harder, honestly, to get to where they are. Like, I want to understand that and be open to it. And I think as a more seasoned attorney, it's very important to be aware of what's going on, to see what's out there, to listen to attorneys of other backgrounds and interests, and kind of be open-minded.
It's hard because people come to us and they want us to fix their problem. And those of us that have been around for a while, we've kind of been there and done that and really have watched, everything that's gone on.
Sure.
And so we kind of feel like we know what needs to happen, but things are different.
Yes.
In fact, they've been more different over the last 3 or 4 months than ever before.
Yes.
And maybe in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the show, if you could talk to us a little bit as a professional dealing with COVID-19, the challenges that our friends are having health-wise, business-wise, lawyers are having with not being able to get our cases into the courtroom. How are you dealing with that as a young millennial professional? What's some advice that you could share with everyone else to deal with the stress, to deal with the challenges, and to help hold our clients' hands to get through all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's been a lot of going the extra mile to connect and to remind them that you're there for them. Again, that can be by email, by phone. Zoom is really huge. I think more than anything, this COVID-19 experience has, in a professional sense, has made very clear that a lot of what we do does not have to be done in person. And as a millennial, if I were seeking out an attorney to represent me, I would want someone who was well-versed on Zoom coming out of COVID, who is well-versed on using FaceTime, using Skype, whatever it may be, so that it's easier for me to reach them. It's easier for me to get the advice and guidance I need without pausing my everyday life to try to go see an attorney, because now we know it can be done. And if you're choosing not to use Zoom or you're choosing not to use Skype, it's probably not a good call, because I think coming out of this, it's going to become the norm rather than having clients come in all the time. And it's not hard to learn how to use it. It really isn't. I think it's worth investing, a day in and just getting versed in how that technology works.
Speaking of technology, Tina Willis, who's an attorney out of Florida, she's the attorney that runs with the alligators.
Cool.
Remember, Tina, I've shared some of your pictures with AJ. She's also very well versed at SEO, search engine optimization, but she asked the question about hashtags on Instagram. Do you use hashtags when you're searching for something, when you're creating a post? What are your thoughts on hashtags?
So I think they're great. I personally joke with my friends, I don't have enough hobbies, so I don't go through hashtags to find things, but so many of my friends do. So many do.
Really?
Yeah, they follow hashtags on Instagram, not just accounts. They literally follow like the hashtags to see what's going on with certain things. And yeah, I don't think they can be understated or overstated, I should say. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, that's a great question, because we have talked about different Instagram techniques, and it's always, what I think works or what the Instagram experts think works and what millennials are actually doing. Sometimes it's two different things. Brad says, really great show, Mitch and AJ. Thank you, Brad. Really appreciate it. And AJ, this was fun. I want to, number one, give your firm a shout out, Sheppard Mullin, right? And you guys have offices all over the country, right?
Well, internationally too.
So if somebody who's either watching the show or listening to the show on the podcast version wants to reach out to you, what's the easiest way for them to do that? Where's your firm located?
So my firm's on Avenue of the Stars in Century City. That's my office. But that being said, my firm has my name and information up on the firm website, AJ Jackson. Yeah, that's the easiest way to reach me or anyone else at my firm, just by email or call.
Just Google Sheppard Mullin, and that'll probably get you to the right spot, right?
Yep, Sheppard Mullin.
All right. Listen, AJ, this was awesome. I really appreciate you coming by tonight, and all you guys out there for stopping by and asking so many great questions and taking time out of your day to say hello to my daughter, one of my three shining stars, you, your brother Garrett, and Lisa.
And your favorite daughter, because
second favorite
I'm the only
now.
one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure about
sorry,
that. I'm not sure about that earlier question, but sibling or child.
There you go.
Child. See.
Okay.
But listen, you guys, this was awesome. Hey, there's Aunt Janine. Let's say hi to Aunt Janine.
Hi, Aunt Janine.
Aunt Janine's out of Tucson, Arizona. It's good to see you. It's been a long time since you guys have seen each other. And we're going to wrap things up with Professor Nicholas Muir reminding us to make tonight a masterpiece. And that's what we're going to do. You guys, thanks for stopping by. I've got some great guests coming up on the show in the upcoming weeks. We've got Haben Gurma joining us.
Oh, very cool.
First deaf-blind graduate of Harvard Law School. We've got Africa Miranda, who's going to be joining us on personal branding. Professor Nicholas Muir is going to be joining us about social media marketing. And we've got Jason Fried, who's the CFO and founder of Basecamp and Hey, the new hey.com email service. So we've got a lot of interesting guests coming on, but I can honestly say, I don't care who else is coming on this show. I just had my favorite guest of all time join us tonight, AJ Jackson of Sheppard Mullin. Thanks, AJ. I love you.
Thanks for having me. I love you too.
All right, you guys, take care. Make it a masterpiece. Bye-bye.